Thanks for joining us. I'm Douglas Scherer, and this is Voices of the Cliff, Program 2. My guest today is Dr. Robert Scherer, who co-authored a recent study about cultural differences that affect the way business students view the environment.
When it comes down to the bottom line, so to speak, it's going to be individuals who are going to have to internalize the right thing to do as opposed to the laws themselves. The laws are just there to deal with individuals after things happen. The most important and most effective way to be concerned about the environment, be concerned about environmental, economic, social issues is for people to internalize those issues and then deal with them in a way which is beneficial to all.
Bob is Dean of the Nance College of Business Administration at Cleveland State University. He served as a Fulbright Senior Scholar and as a Rotary International Teaching Fellow at the University of Concepcion in Chile from 1998 through 1999. He continues to consult and teach courses and workshops in Chile, Spain, and the United States and other countries on leadership, teamwork, and organizational development. He is also the host's brother. Welcome, Bob.
It's a pleasure to be here, Doug. Thanks for inviting me.
First, the study showed a more altruistic attitude in Chilean business students than U.S. business students. You have a unique perspective, having taught in both of those cultures. What do you think are some of the similarities and differences in the ways that business leaders develop in those countries?
Well, cultural context has a strong influence on framing one's perspective, both in daily lives and in leadership roles in particular. The Chilean culture tends to be very group-oriented, very traditional education system, and includes a variety of educational techniques, focuses on math and sciences that we wouldn't normally find in the United States. And when that translates into the workplace, it means people focused on things that are very critical for the technical functioning aspects of the business. So my perspective, I think there's a greater focus on technical, operational issues than there are on specific interpersonal skills.
Part of what the study showed is that the norms that they're working with are also more pro-environmental. Is that something that you've seen in Chile? Is that there seems to be a pro-environmental attitude?
Yeah, I think what you've seen in Chile happen over the years is that it has become more industrialized, more outward-looking to the rest of the world. They've had to utilize and exploit many of their natural resources. They've, certainly as in other countries which are less developed as Chile technologically, socially, and economically, initially you see an emphasis on just true exploitation, not concerns about safety, not concerns about conservation or preservation of the environment, not a concern on human welfare in general. And so over the last 35, 40 years, I believe that the Chilean government, as well as business leaders as a whole, have seen that they're not able to continue in the same way that they have in the past.
Another thing that the study said was that they tend to be more altruistic. And I wonder if there could be any ties to sustainability and growth. In other words, can an organization change more if you have an attitude towards changing to help the environment?
Yeah, I think you've got Chilean leaders realizing now that they can't go on in the same way that they have in the past with respect to the agricultural industry, the fishing industry, the mining industry, without understanding what it is they need to do to preserve their business, their land, and their economy long term. Excellent contemporary example is the incident with the Chilean miners in the desert mine in northern Chile. I think you saw just an unbelievable outpouring of support and effort to extract the miners from their underground confinement and in a true concern for compassion for those individuals, as opposed to going through the perfunctory activities of just extracting them, and a true concern for going forward, what do we need to do to prevent this type of calamity in the future, as opposed to in the United States, in our media, in some of the recent mining disasters that we've seen in the middle part of our country, and then in Utah with the underground mine disaster a few years ago, really finger pointing going on as opposed to trying to solve problems.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting because I know that some of your earlier work where you testified before Congress on the limitations of OSHA, their ability to really control safety. Do you see some relationship between those two?
Sure. I think, again, in the best of worlds, we don't need to have regulations to keep workplaces safe, keep workplaces environmentally friendly, and in a state of always being concerned about the larger footprint that they're having on society as a whole. However, in the early 90s, I think the United States, with a number of workplace deaths occurring in the industrial sector, said we need to hold individuals accountable, not just corporations. And I think what you're seeing in Chile, by contrast, is individuals taking initiative before many strong and limiting laws are put into place.
Mm-hmm. It sort of speaks to the strength of Sarbanes-Oxley, because Sarbanes-Oxley went in, started holding the CEOs and the higher level accountable for what the CFOs and the rest of the company was doing, and yet still after that, we still see a number of companies folding under
Correct.
that.
In terms of regulations, Sarbanes-Oxley is a great example. You can put all of the legislation, the rules, the regulations in place, but when it comes down to the bottom line, so to speak, it's going to be individuals who are going to have to internalize the right thing to do as opposed to the laws themselves. The laws are just there to deal with individuals after things happen. The most important and most effective way to be concerned about the environment, be concerned about environmental, economic, social issues, is for people to internalize those issues and then deal with them in a way which is beneficial to all.
So how do you think that we can develop leaders who have internalized these issues and can be proactive in taking care of those from maybe an altruistic standpoint, if we want to call it that, before we require regulation?
Yeah, I think what you're seeing, if we use the Chilean study as an example, the business students who were participants in that study have had an opportunity to observe their parents, their friends, and others performing in a way that would be altruistic, or at least, let's say, environmentally responsible, sustainably responsible in the workplace and throughout the country. To me, what that really says is that it's a matter of social learning, and it's a matter of people observing the positive role models that behave in a way that promotes the type of behaviors that are pro-environmental. As a result, my own personal philosophy of leadership, the three most important ingredients when you strip away all of the 50, 100 plus years of leadership theory, contemporary leadership theory, we find that it really boils down to three things. Behaving in a way that you want others to behave in, being a role model, positive role model in the workplace, removing obstacles that people have in their way to behave in a pro-environmental way, to use the issues that we're discussing today, and removing the obstacles so that they can perform effectively. And when we talk about role modeling, we're really talking about behaving in a way that really puts into practice the golden rule, treating others in the way that you would want to be treated yourself.
And this is the core that you're training around the world with as well, right?
Sure. I think given the body of leadership research that we have available to us, we find in the academic literature on leadership that depending upon cultural context, depending upon language, depending upon the economic environment, depending upon a whole catalog of factors, that leadership theories differ from culture to culture, from country to country, from organization to organization in their ability to predict effective leadership. However, what we really see, when, again, as we strip it all away, is that there's really three key ingredients among all of those theories, and then certainly context plays a big role in social learning as well, but it's the idea of having positive models for leadership to help people lead themselves, if you will, and that the leader then provides the specific resources and does what he or she can to remove any obstacles in the way of the people they're facilitating performance for.
Do you have any suggestions on how to incorporate those three concepts into business curriculum or even organizational training curriculum?
Sure. I think there's several ways. If we look back at the pro-environmental behavior, I believe it's unrealistic and probably ineffective to just have standalone single courses in what managers should do to promote an environmentally friendly workplace, a workplace that embodies the principles of the triple bottom line and sustainable economic development, sustainable business practices. Certainly courses in technical skill of environmental management, technical skill of environmental safety, technical skills related to positive and productive land stewardship, for example, are important to get the basic skills, knowledge, and develop one's abilities. However, standalone courses are not enough. In my opinion, what's effective is to infuse those principles once somebody has the individual skills, knowledge, and ability into courses throughout the curriculum. So in a business school, it might be a case study in each class, which has some bits and pieces which students must review and relate to and come up with solutions with respect to environmental issues or sustainability issues. I believe that providing students internships in companies where they can view and work side by side with role models and mentors who take the same perspective as those who promote pro-environmental behavior in the workplace is also effective to actually apply what they've learned in school in a safe working environment.
You can find Bob's contact information along with additional links about his work at our website, voicesofthecliff.com, where you can also leave comments and learn more about the composer of the theme music, Brad Rebuchin. I'm Douglas Scherer, and I welcome you to listen to the next edition of Voices of the Cliff, which will be available next month.